Alright, welcome to my channel and to another tutorial. And this is going to be a pretty cool one because I'm going to recreate this card section here on Disney+. I think it's pretty cool. You can see when you hover over these, they play a little movie inside of here. And I also saw that they actually created this application in React, so that's pretty cool. I'm a big fan of React and I use React daily. So I think it's pretty sweet, to be honest. So that's what we're going to recreate here. I'm not going to use these logos and movies here because of copyright issues and stuff like that. So I'm going to use fake logos and free movies that I found on different sites. And I have provided them in the starter files down below this video. And also make sure to subscribe and hit that notification button to support me and my channel. All right, so let's get started. I'm going to move inside of my code editor. And I have this project here that I provided for you down below in the link. You have a folder there that's called something like Start Here at the end. And this is essentially a plain Create React app setup with Typescript. So that's what I'm using here. And if we look in the package.json, you can see they also use style components. That's what I'm going to use in this tutorial. And I have the types here for style components. So this is the library that I installed. And then I created this with Create React app. I also added something to the react-app-end.d.ts file. This one will make sure that we can import MP4 files in our app component. So these are the videos here. And you can see that I have a README. I found those on pexels.com, and the images, I found those on logologo.com, and they should be free to use. So this little one here makes sure that we can import them as modules in our app component. So that's what I've added to that one. And then I stripped out some things that we don't need. So this is the index file. So very clean and plain. We just have the app here. So that's the one that we're going to start working in. So in the app.tsx file, you can see that I already importing these ones for us. So we don't have to do that. And if we start up the application, we go inside the folder and type npm start. We can see that it's up and running and working. It should be on localhost 3000 if you don't have anything else running on that port. And it says start here, so that is good. We know that it's working and we can start building this little sucker. No, not a sucker really, because it's awesome. All right, so what I do usually when I create the style component, I have them in a separate file. I like to import them and keep that logic away from my component themselves. This is highly subjective. If you don't like this, you don't need to do it. You can create your style components directly in these files, but I'm going to create a new file that's called app.styles.ts. And I'm not putting them in a separate folder, a separate components folder now, because we're only going to have two components. We have the app and we have the cards. So that's why I keep them in the same folder like this. Otherwise, I would create my components in a components folder, and I have a separate folder for each component where I have my style file and my actual file for the component. All right, so first in this file, we import style from style-components. Then I export the const. I have to export it because I'm going to import it in the app component itself. I call it wrapper equals styled, and it's going to be a div. So style.div, and inside we're going to have some logic. We're going to display this one as a grid. This is going to be the wrapper that holds all the 6 of these cards. And I set the grid-template-columns. Oops. Not double grid. Like this. So when we're on smaller devices, we're going to show 3 cards and 2 rows. So that's why I'm going to set it to repeat. We have 3 cards and 1 fragment. I set the grid-gap to 20 pixels. The width is going to be 100% of this container. The height is going to be auto. The background is going to be something like 1A, 1D, 2B. And I set a little bit of padding on it, 20 pixels on top and bottom, and 60 pixels at the sides. You can, of course, adjust this to whatever you want. I set the box sizing to border dash box. Then I have a media query because when we're on desktop and larger devices, we want to have 6 of these cards in one row. So media min-width is going to be I set it to 992 pixels. This is from when I used Bootstrap back in the days. I rarely use it now. So that's the breakpoint for Bootstrap. Then we set the grid dash template columns. And we have repeat. And we have 6 of them and 1 fragment. So this is everything we need for a wrapper in the app component. Save it. Go back to the app. And up here, you can see that we don't need to import React anymore because I'm using React 17. So that's why I mark it with styles. And I import my wrapper. So import curly brackets wrapper from ./app.styles. And instead of this div down here, I'm going to use the wrapper like this. So save the file, go back to the browser. You can see that we have this background here. And it says start here. So we're going to change this, of course. So that's our wrapper for the container. And then we're going to create the card itself. And that's the only component that we're going to create. So inside of this folder here, create a new file that we call card.tsx. And we're also going to need a file with the styles. So card.styles.ts. And inside this styles.ts, we can import styled from styled-components. And for now, we're going to export a const that's called wrapper again. And it's going to be a styled.div. And we leave it empty for now. And we're going to fill that out in a second. So go inside our card.tsx file. And up here, we're going to import the styles. Import wrapper from ./card.styles. I usually have a wrapper component like this in most of the components I create where I need to style them. Then we're going to create our card component, const card. It's going to be colon, and it's going to be a react.fc. It's a React functional component. We leave it empty for now, and we're going to think about the props later because we are going to take in some props for this one. We have curly brackets, and we have a return statement, parenthesis. We have a wrapper, and for now we can type in a p tag that says card. We export default card like this, save the file, go back inside our app.tsx file, and up here somewhere I want to import it at the top. I mark it with components. Import card from ./card. And instead of this start here, down below here, we can use our card component. And for now we don't have any props, but we're going to send them in a second. So we create 6 of them here, like this. Save it, go back to the browser. We can't see it now because it's black, but if we mark it, you can see it here that we have 6 of them and it seems to be working. And if we do like this and we change the viewport, you can see that we have 3 of them in 2 rows instead. So our responsive design is also working, and that's super neat. Go back to the code, and we are going to send in some props to this component. So we want the image and we also want the video. So we have a prop that's called logo 1 for this one. And we have the video. That's going to be video 1 for this one. Video. And you can see that it complains here, and it's TypeScript because we haven't specified these props. So we're going to do that also soon when we have created these ones. So paste them in here. Like this, and we change the number on them. 2, 3, 4, 5. No, not there. 5, 6. And the same with the video. And then we go back to the card, and we have to specify these props here. So we create a new type, props, call them whatever you want. I like to call them props because that's what they are. We have the logo, it's going to be a string. And we have the video, it's also going to be a string. And here we're going to specify the props because this is a generic in TypeScript. So we specify the props like this. And then with the structure out the props, We have the logo and the video. If you think that I'm moving fast here, that is because I have a lot of videos on this in my channel with TypeScript and how you destructure out props. So I won't go into detail in every video that I do. So we create these types here for the props, and we specify the props in this functional component, and then we destructure out the props here, and now it won't complain for us anymore here. And actually our app component is finished now. We don't need to do anything more inside of this component. So we're only going to be in the card component to create our nice little stuff here. And we can remove this text here and start creating this card component. So first we're going to have a div with a class name. That's going to be border. And that's because if I go back here and look at this site here, you can see that this border is actually transparent. So how I solve this one is that I actually place a div on top of everything with this transparent border. There are probably smarter ways to do this, but I thought that this was simple enough. So I'm going to have this invisible div with the border that is placed on top of this logo and the movie. So that's what I'm creating here. Then we have the image. It's going to have a source, and the source is going to be the logo. We have an alt that says logo. And then we have the video itself. So I create a video element. I'm going to set it to loop. Preload is going to be set to none. Don't know if this one is needed for this one, but it's better to be safe than sorry. Then we have to set a prop that's called mute. Otherwise it won't work. It will complain. And that is because Chrome, for example, don't like it when you just autoplay a video with sounds, and the users won't likely like that either. So that's why it has that security. So it will throw up a warning for you and it will not play the video. So that's why we have to set this to mute, so we don't have any volume on this one set. Otherwise it won't work. All right, then we're going to have an on mouse over on this one. It's going to equal to a function that we're going to create that's called handle on mouse over, or handle mouse over. You can decide. On mouse out, that's the next one that we're going to need. And we're going to have a function that's called handle on mouse out. And this is everything we need for the video element. Inside of this video element, we're going to have the source to the video. So we create a source element. The src is going to be the video. And the type is going to be video/mp4. And we close it like this. So this is a JSX for our card. We know how to create these functions here. So we're going to scaffold them out for now. And we create them inside of here. Const handle on mouse over equal. We have the event. And this event is going to be a react.mouse event. And this is a generic, so we can specify it even further. And it's going to be an HTML video element. We can actually create these ones now. I said we were going to scaffold them out, but we actually only have one row in these ones. And when we hover, we're going to play the video. So we have e.currentTarget.play like this. And if you want to have a one-liner, you can remove these curly brackets. It's actually not a one-liner because it moves it to another row. Yeah. So it doesn't matter. You don't need to have the curly brackets when we have just one row like this. And then we create the handle on mouse out. We have the same event. It's a react.mouse event HTML video element. And we have an arrow function, and we don't need to have the curly brackets. And from the e.currentTarget, we're going to pause the video. Handle on mouse out. Yeah, I misspelled it down here. On mouse out. So that's the functions that we need, and that's actually everything we need to do in this component itself. Everything else is just about styling. We can save this one and go back to our application. You can see that we have our stuff here. It won't play the videos or anything now, and it looks like crap. So we have to style this also. Yeah, it actually plays the video now, but it's super big. So we're going to style this so it looks great. So move inside the car.styles.ts file. And I'm only going to have these style components because I'm going to use classes instead. I don't always create separate style components for everything I do because I don't think it's needed. If we look here, for example, it looks pretty clean to have it like this. And I only have this class name here, and then I can reference the image and the video directly in the CSS. So that's why I don't create separate style components. I'm going to have two CSS properties, CSS variables up here, -- border -- radius. I'm going to set it to 0.7 rem, -- transition time is going to be 0.3 seconds. So you can adjust these values if you want to change the behavior and the look on your cards. I'm going to set the position to relative because we are going to use absolute positioning on some elements later. So that is why I set this one to relative. So it will be relative to this wrapper. I set the padding - top to 56.25%. And that is because I want to have this 16:9 aspect ratio on this one. So if I set the padding to top, it will pad it 56.25%. And that will match a 16:9 aspect ratio. So that's why. Then I set the background. It's going to be a linear gradient. Because if we look here again at the original, you can see that it's a little bit of gradient here on the gray bluish background. So that's what I'm creating here. So it's going to be a linear gradient, 0 degree, comma. I have the first color 1E, 1F, 2A, 0%. Then I have the second color. It's going to be 2F, 313D, and it goes to 67% roughly. Something like this. Then we have a little bit of box shadow also on this card. So box shadow, we first have an inset box shadow, and that is the box shadow inside of the border. The other one is the one outside of the border here. So I'm going to create two of them. So the first one is the inset. It's 0 pixels, 0 pixels, 50 pixels, RGBA 0, 0, 0. And the last one is the transparency. So it's going to be 0.2. And these ones are just trial and error. They won't match up exactly, but I got it to look almost the same. So box - shadow, we have the second one. That one is the one that goes on the outside, 0 pixels, 16 pixels, 17 pixels, and -5 pixels. And it's going to be black, so 0, 0, 0. Then I'm going to set the cursor to a pointer on these ones. We have a transition. I'm going to be lazy and set it to all. And I use my variable that is transition time. I set the border radius. And I use my variable for the border radius like this. Save it, go back. Let's see if we see something different here. Yeah, we have something here, but it still looks like crap. So we have to fix that. So first we can actually fix the border. That's the little div that I have placed on top on everything. So we have the border. It's going to be positioned as absolute. Top is going to be 0. The width is going to be 100%. The height is also going to be 100%. The border is going to be 3 pixels solid, and we have a color of 42444F. You could, of course, have these colors in variables also if you want to have that. We have the border radius. It's going to be from the variable border radius again. And this is why it's so sweet to use these little variables up here, because if we change this one, it will change on all of these ones. We set the box sizing to border-box. And then I set the background clip, and that is a special one because that's what makes it transparent. If we don't have this one, this border won't be transparent. So I set that one to border box also. The set index is going to be 10. It's going to be on top. I set the transition all, and I have my variable transition time for that one. And the pointer events is going to be none. We don't want the pointer events on this border. We have them on this wrapper instead. All right, so that's the border. Then we have our image, and I can reference this by IMG. The position on this one is also going to be absolute position, like this. The top is going to be 0. The width is going to be 100%. The set index on this one is going to be 1. And the pointer dash events is also going to be none on this one because we only have them on this wrapper here and also on the video. All right, so that's all for the image. And then we have our video. And I reference this with video. The position is going to be absolute, like this. Top is going to be 0. Opacity is going to be 0 for starters. We won't show the video when we don't hover over it. So we're going to change this one in a second. Width is 100%. Object fit is going to be cover. The min width is going to be 100%. And the min height is also going to be 100%. And this is because I want the video to stretch in these thumbnails. And if it's not exactly the same aspect ratio, it will stretch it anyway. We set the border dash radius to our variable on this one, also variable border dash radius. All right, so let's see what we've got. Save it, go back. You can see that it looks pretty neat here now. We have some stuff that we need to change here. The border radius isn't there, I can see. I don't know why. I have to check that one. And we also need to have this hover effect. We need to show the video and a little bit of zooming. I don't know why the border radius won't kick in. Yeah, that's because there's 4 of them here. Super strange that it added in that. I removed those. It should only be 2 of them. Go back to the browser, and now you can see that it looks pretty neat. We have the logos and we have the background, and everything is working fine. So the only thing we have to do is actually create the hover state now. And we do that on the wrapper. As we're inside this component, we can nest stuff here, and that's also super great with style component. So we have colon and hover. We're first going to transform it a little bit. We scale it up to 1.05. Let's see what it does. Yeah, you can see that it scales it. Like that. I don't know if that is exactly... Yeah, I think it's pretty close, at least. Right? So that's the scaling. Then we need to do something on the border div also. So dot border, we nest that one inside of the here also. We're going to change the border color to 3 pixels, solid, and RGB A. We want the alpha channel. I don't know if you actually need this one anymore, but I'm going to use it for old habit's sake. 255, 255, 255. That's white. And we set the transparency to 0.7. And this is what gives that transparency on the border so that we can see that little movie below the border. So go back here. You can see that it changed the color. So that's nice. It seems to be working. We only have one more thing to do, and that is to actually set the opacity on the video, because now it's 0. So we have to change that one to 100. So on the video, and this is all only triggered when we are on hover, because I nest these ones in the hover. So that's why it will only be triggered when we hover. We set the opacity 200. And this is probably it. It should be everything we need to do to get this to work. And yeah, it works. And it looks super sweet. I really like this one. And you can see, if we look here, you can see that the movie is actually showing below the border. So it looks exactly the same as the one on Disney Plus. So this is how you recreate this one. As you can see, it's not that much code, and it's mostly CSS, to be honest. So it would be almost as easy to create this one with vanilla JavaScript and not in React. But it's sweet to use React. And you can see that the responsive design is also working great. So this is it. There you have it. This is a clone of the Disney Plus cards, as they have, or whatever it's called. All right. Hope you enjoyed this one. Please make sure to subscribe and hit that notification button, and see you in another one.